Welcome back to the ML journey. Imagine you want to store the names of 100 students. Are you going to create 100 different variables? Of course not. Python gives us a much better way to store multiple values in a single variable, and it's called a list. By the end of this video, you know how to create lists, access items in a list, modify lists, and use some of the most common list methods. Let's jump right into VS Code. So I have a list of 3 items. This is a list because I have several values stored in a single variable fruits. Instead of creating 3 different variables to store 3 different values, I put all these values in square brackets and store them in a single variable called fruits. A list is simply a collection of items stored inside square brackets. A list can store strings, numbers, or even a mixture of data types. Now, suppose I wanted to extract the first item in the list, apples. All I have to do is print fruits with a square brackets, and then I use a number which represents the position or location of apple. In this case, 0. 0 because in Python, we begin counting from 0. So if I hit run, I'm going to have apple printed to the user. In the same way, if I want a banana, then I'm going to use an index of 1 and so on. Now let's say I had so many items in my list that I don't know the total number of items in the list. How do I print the last element in the list? I could do what we call negative indexing. Instead of beginning from the first element, which is 0, I could decide to begin from the last element and count backwards. So negative 1. So if I hit run, I'm going to have mango printed to the user. Now, all the skills you learned in string indexing and string slicing can be applied to lists as well. Now let's move on to changing items in the list. Suppose instead of apple, I want to replace it with tomatoes. I could just say my list, which is fruits, and then what is the position of apples? 0. And I equate it to tomatoes. So in this case, it means the 0th position in fruits, whatever I have there, I want to replace with tomatoes. So if I hit run, I would have replaced apple with tomatoes. So let's print the list fruits again. And then I'm having tomatoes, banana, and mango. In the same way, if I wanted to add an extra fruit to this list, I could just say fruits.append, and then I add the fruit. So let's say this time I wanted to add pear. I just say fruits.append pear. If I print the fruits, we see pear appended at the end of the list. We could do the same thing, but this time we could specify which position we want to add the fruits. Let's say this was a list of items we were going to buy at the market. Pear was so important to us that we wanted pear at the second position. But this time, pear was appended to the last position. What do we do? Instead of append, we are going to use another method called insert. So I now specify the position where I want pear to be, in this case, the second position, which is index 1, and I hit run, and I'm now going to have pear added to the second position. So if I'm being specific about where to add the item, then I have to use insert. But then if I just want to add the item to the end of the list, then I have to use append. Now let's say I wanted to remove an item from the list. There are several ways to do this. I could decide to use a method called pop. So fruits.pop. So what this does is it takes away the last item in the list. So in this case, I have just 3 fruits. If I say fruits.pop, it takes away mango from the list. Let's run this and I have apple, and banana. Now let's say I didn't want to take just the last elements from the list. I wanted a specific element, then I'll use remove. So if I hit run, it means I'm removing banana from the list. So I have just apple and mango. Suppose I had a list of items and I wanted to find the total number of items in that list. I'm going to use a method called len. So len of the list returns the total number of items in the list. So if I hit run, I have 3, which is 3 items in a list called fruits. Now let's say we wanted to print all elements in this list called fruits. One thing I can do is to print by using the positions. So I'm going to print the elements at position 1, print elements at position 2, at position 3, and so on. But this method becomes ineffective when I have so many elements in my list. So one technique I can use is looping. So I'll use a for loop from one of those earlier videos that we did. So for fruits in the list called fruits, or I could say for item in fruits, print fruits. So what happens is, at the first instance, fruit is apple. At the second instance, fruit is banana. And at the third, fruit is mango. And I would have printed out all the fruits in the list called fruits. Now let's say after 6 months, I come back to my data and I want to check if a certain fruit is present in my list. Now I could do this by using a keyword called in. So I could say if guava in my list, which is fruits, let's say print true. So if guava is present in my list, it should print true. Else print absent. So if I hit run, I'm going to have absent because guava is not in my list. Now let's see if apple in list. So if apple in list, print true, else absent. So if I hit run this time, I'm going to have true because apple is present in the list called fruits. If this video helped you in any way, I'd really appreciate if you took a few seconds to subscribe to my channel. Every subscription motivates me to keep learning, improving, and making better content. Thank you for being here, and see you in the next one.